quick thought I want to pass on to my passport soldiers out there. It's 2023, and it's time to start normalizing long-distance relationships. I know there's always been this negative air attached to the idea of long-distance relationships, but this is where we are now, and that old way of looking at things is pretty much obsolete. It's time to adjust your way of thinking, and I'll tell you why. This whole passport movement is based on exercising your options abroad, and those options are being exercised. And there's a whole wave of brothers preparing to exercise that option as well. You know what that means? That means that we've already normalized going outside of the country for a broader selection of women. We've come a long way. There was a time when brothers would venture to another neighborhood for a broader selection of women. Then they began to venture across town for a broader selection. And I think those were the original passport bros. They called them bus ticket bros. Then they began to venture to other cities for a broader selection. Then other states. Now, here we are, venturing to other countries. So think about it. You got your passport, you've bounced out, and now you're doing you. You're going to reach a point where you're at a fork in the road. Veering left, you'll be a passenger on the TT Railroad. You know what that is? The Transaction Train Railroad. Veer to the right, you'll be a passenger on the long distance relationship. Those are your options. The transaction train or the long distance relationship. So if we don't normalize long distance relationships the way we've normalized exercising your options abroad, then by default, you're only left with the transaction train. And look, if the transaction train is your thing, all aboard, there's always a seat available. But for those of us who are relationship minded, like I said in another video, it's time to update your software. Because if we don't, brothers will find themselves trying to do these relationships amidst all opposition and no support. If we don't, there'll be no content created or testimonials celebrating long distance relationships. Shout out to the homie Average Man Unplugged and his channel for doing the testimonials. If we don't, there'll be no advice, support, or motivation. Shout out to Andre and Andrea, Love Crossing Borders. They were our motivation for getting out here, starting our channel and representing. But overall, there's just a handful of couples representing for this side of the passport life. So again, it's time to normalize long distance relationships, brothers, because there's really only two options. It's either the transaction train or the long distance relationship. Think about it. Love, purpose, and passports. Peace.